When you hear public sector ethics, your mind probably jumps straight to scandals, right? But that's just scratching the surface. Real public ethics is about something much bigger, building the entire system of trust between a government and its people. In this explainer, we're going to break down the manual for how that system is built, and maybe more importantly, how it's maintained.
This one phrase, it just nails it. It's the absolute heart of the matter. Think about it. Every single decision, every policy, it's all a transaction of trust between the state and its citizens. That's not just some feel-good line. It's literally the foundation a legitimate government is built on.
Okay, so this is a super important distinction we've got to get straight from the get-go. The law, well, that's the floor. It's the bare minimum you must do to stay out of trouble. But ethics, that's the ceiling. That's the high standard you should be aiming for, the thing that actually inspires people to trust you. And here's the takeaway. You can be perfectly legal and still be deeply, profoundly unethical.
So why does all this actually matter? What's the big deal? Well, it's pretty simple, really. Public ethics isn't just a nice-to-have for officials. It is the very bedrock on which a government's right to govern is built. Without it, the whole thing crumbles.
I love this line because it highlights such a fundamental shift in perspective. You know, without an ethical framework, a public job can easily become about power, about control. But when you bring ethics into the picture, that authority completely transforms. It becomes stewardship, a deep, serious responsibility to take care of public resources and public trust on behalf of everyone else. All right, so what does this moral infrastructure actually look like? Well, turns out it's built on 4 absolutely non-negotiable pillars. These are what hold up every single public institution. Yep, it all boils down to just 4 core values. It's a simple number to remember, but these 4 pillars contain the entire architecture of ethical governance. So let's dive in and see what they are and how they actually work in the real world. So here's the whole system laid out. First up, we have integrity, basically walking the talk. In practice, that's about things like avoiding conflicts of interest. Second, there's impartiality, making fair, objective calls based on merit, not on who you know. Third, accountability. You have to own your actions, and that means keeping clear records so people can check your work. And finally, service, a real commitment to the public good over any personal gain. You can really see how these 4 fit together like puzzle pieces to create a solid, trustworthy system. Okay, so having principles is great, but how do they actually hold up in the messy, complicated real world? Let's move away from the theory and look at the kind of challenges public servants run into every single day. Let's try a little scenario. Picture this. You're managing a big public contract, and one of the suppliers just casually offers you a pair of amazing front-row tickets to a huge game. Now what? It might not even be illegal, but what's the ethical move? What does the framework we just talked about demand you do? So what's the playbook for that sticky situation? Well, it's a really clear 3-step process. Step 1, your default move is always to just refuse politely. That immediately shuts down any perception of influence. Now, if for some crazy reason you can't refuse, you go to step 2. You formally declare it. And step 3, no matter what, you document everything. This creates a transparent audit trail that protects you and the institution you work for. And this really gets to the heart of why those steps are so important. It's all about managing conflicts of interest. But look closely at the wording here. Notice those 3 crucial words, or appear to interfere. This is so key. The perception of a conflict can be just as damaging to public trust as a real one. Good ethics means you have to manage both. So how do you consistently make the right call, especially when you're in one of those tricky gray areas? Well, it's not about just relying on your gut feeling. Ethical decision-making is a skill, and just like any skill, you get better at it when you have the right tools. This toolkit has 3 main frameworks. The duty-based one asks, what do the rules say I have to do? The consequence-based one looks at the outcome. What choice does the most good for the most people? And the virtue-based approach is about character. What would a truly honest and responsible person do here? Now, the secret is you don't just pick one. A really solid ethical choice comes from looking at the problem through all 3 of these lenses. And all this brings us to our final and honestly, maybe the most important takeaway of all. Integrity isn't just a personal quality you hope people have. It's not a feeling, it's a system that you have to build and maintain on purpose. So how can you actually verify that integrity is there? It all comes down to traceability. If a decision can't be traced back through clear records, through a clear rationale, then its ethical foundation is, well, it's just an opinion. It's not provable. And this is the magic trick. This is the key transformation. Good intentions are subjective, they're inside your head, but a documented decision, one that shows the facts you looked at, the frameworks you used, and your reasoning, that's institutional evidence. It proves the process was fair and accountable. It turns a personal feeling into a public record that can be defended.
And that leaves us with this really powerful final thought. Public ethics isn't about begging people to be virtuous. It's about building a solid, transparent, documented system that makes integrity the easiest, most natural path to take. It's a discipline, not an opinion. It's a manual for how to build trust,